Summer now in full swing, I've been seeing a few new visitors to the pasture every morning. Every day for about the last week, this little guy makes his way out into the big pasture after the boys come in to get their breakfast. Typically, I do see a bunch of sandhill cranes, but this is the first heron that I've seen more than a couple of times here. As I get the horses fed this morning, I'm gonna keep my eye on him and kind of see what he's up to.
Okay, boys. Zeke. Girl. Tiny.
Naturally, Tiny was on full alert that there was a little dinosaur bird in her pasture. I'm not really sure what he's up to pouncing around in the field in the morning, but I feel a little bit bad setting Scarlet and Ziggy out if he's still here. I've been really curious as to what he does out here all morning, so I set up my camera and I continued on with my chores for the morning. This is sped up at 2,000 speed, so he pretty much is just standing around. After a while, he settled in to have himself a little bit of a bird bath. Definitely really cool to witness. I think he's been hanging around more and more because Huckleberry has not really been coming with me to the barn. While everybody is having a crazy heat wave this week, we actually got snow the last couple of days. Thankfully, it melted very quickly, but it made for a little bit of a muddy mess here. With my new visitor kind of snuggled down for a little bit of a morning nap, I decided to go ahead and leave Ziggy and Scarlet in their dry lot while I go over and refresh Pearl's hay pile. With the snow and rain that we've been having, Pearl has been getting the grass hay. I've just been testing it out because it's easier for me to bring that over in little piles instead of a huge load like this one.
Let me see your chomp, buddy.
For a short while, I did have Big Gus out here with these two boys, which they've been turned out before, but since they're next to Scarlet now, Studman has been acting a little bit more possessive of her, and somebody gave him a pretty good chomp the other day. I can't imagine it was Big Gus. He is usually a really chill dude, but he is now in the barn in Prim's old stall hanging out with Frisco Bill. Prim has just been coming in a regular stall when it snows and then goes out in the round pen during the day. As you can see, the tippy top of the mountain is still holding onto a little bit of the snow we just got. I've had a bunch of new viewers ask if I live on the same property with the horses, and I basically live across the big giant field that you can see in the background. I'm pretty lucky that I have a completely different area over behind my house that I can keep horses that need a little bit of extra care. This is typically where the new horses I get go for their quarantine period, even though there is another horse over here. Typically it's not ideal, but Pearl has really been enjoying the company of the neighbor's horse that is turned out in this big pasture area. I've had a lot of people ask why Pearl can't just go out with Emily, who is the neighbor's horse right here. And while I would love to have Pearl out here running around eating grass, she is extremely hard to keep weight on, and she basically has to have straight alfalfa in front of her 24/7 or she'll drop weight. She is very picky about eating any hard feed.
Hey, girl. Hey, girl.
I have finally found a senior feed that she likes, even though it's a tiny bit higher in sugar than I would like. But Pearl does have PPID and she needs pills every single day, and if she doesn't get them, then she will also lose weight and start to feel miserable. Compared to when I bought her from the sale, she is looking fit and trim and in pretty good body condition for a 27-year-old horse. I honestly didn't think she would ever look this good. I was on the fence about whether or not she would need to be euthanized when I bought her. So to see her thriving and looking pretty good for her age is really nice to see, especially now that it's bright and sunshiny out and there's no snow on the ground. I can always tell when she played too much the day before because she will get a little bit sore. You guys know I've been keeping a very close eye on her melanomas, and she did have another one pop up on the front of her neck the other day. She still has a few under her jaw and one popping up on her ear that she does not want me to be touching today. I have another smaller stall over here that does have a lot of grass in it, so I've been slowly trying to transition her over to some grass. She was doing really good until we got up to about 2 hours of turnout time, and then her feet were getting pretty sore. She did have quite a bit of laminitis when I first got her. Her feet look so much better now, but I do not want to regress and go back into dealing with that again. I'm going to let the grass get a little bit more mature, and then hopefully I'll be able to try and introduce her to the grass again. I could also start getting up a little bit earlier because the sugar in the grass is at its lowest at around 4 or 5 a.m. With the amount of straight alfalfa that she's been eating, I do worry that she won't get enough calories if she's out on pasture. The alfalfa is nutrient dense, and for a horse like Pearl who has trouble keeping weight and is very old, it is usually a better way to feed them than pasture. This gator has been super handy for this. I come out here about once a week, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, depending on how much I'm able to bring over in one load. I'm not exactly sure how many acres Emily has access to, but it's quite a lot. She won't run out of grass all summer, but she still likes getting a little alfalfa snack every now and then. On the other side of their fence, there is a big pasture that has mostly alfalfa and then some grass in it. It is typically hayed, and it is not something that I would want to turn the horses out on.
Oh, baby ducks. Oh.
With the stream pretty high right now, I went to blasting across it, and I saw that there was a bunch of little baby ducks floating in the water. I felt really bad. This mama duck, she does have quite a few every single year, and they are pretty acclimated to me coming and going. Eventually, I heard her coming for her babies, and they were able to get back together. The best time of year here does not last very long, and every summer I try really hard to take a few days and just sit back and relax and enjoy this beautiful place that I live in. While Pearl's water tanks are filling up, I'm going to give her a few extra scratches and show you guys exactly what her body condition is like these days. have noticed that Pearl's right hind does act up every once in a while, typically after days that she runs around a bit too much. Overall, I think I've got her at the perfect weight. I don't want to get her too much heavier because she does have a little bit of arthritis. With Frisco finally starting to settle down and relying less and less on Prim these days, I do think him and Pearl are gonna become friends when we move. These tanks do take quite a long while to fill up. I think it's about 20 minutes for each tank. By the time I top off the second one, Pearl is settling into a nice little afternoon siesta. I do think that she is pretty happy back here with one other horse friend and her own space with unlimited feed. After I grab myself a little bit of lunch, I am going to head back to the barn and see if our Heron friend is finally done doing whatever it was he was doing in the pasture. It's been quite a few hours, so it would be really surprising to see him, and it looks like he's moved on his way. It looks like Studman and Goose could use another snack, and I am going to get Scarlet and Ziggy turned out on their pasture. The boys are now going out all night long. In the morning, they get grass hay, which they basically just kick around and poop on. I would say the majority of the horses are packing on a few extra pounds, so they don't need the alfalfa anymore.
I'm coming, Zig.
The grass hay has been working perfectly to give them something to do during the day, but not adding too many extra calories to their diet. Scarlet has been an absolute superstar out on the pasture. She still hasn't quite figured out how to come in at the end of the day, but she'll get there eventually. I've been trying to decide which horses I might start to do Liberty with, and I'm actually pretty excited to try it with Scarlet.
Oh, shoot. We'll back you up. Dang.
It seems like one of the most important things for a Liberty horse is to develop a draw, and Scarlet pretty much does that on her own. We've been working on it since she was a tiny little baby, so I think it's gonna cross over into Liberty training very nicely for her. Since I haven't done any Liberty before, I want to make sure I have all the proper tools to get started, so I have been trying to find the perfect little sticks to help them with their cues. Since Liberty has gained popularity, they are pretty darn expensive now, so I've been searching the local feed store for a cheaper alternative. It is pretty easy for me to get sidetracked every day, and I do have to fill in this gopher hole that popped up before it hurts any of the horses. This hole was definitely not here yesterday, and I am going to have to fill it in with some rock and then dirt on top. My tiny sacrificial pasture has been working really good to contain most of the gophers, but every once in a while I'll have a rogue hole pop up that I'll need to address.
Zig, it's just rocks, buddy.
Ziggy was convinced that I had a little bit of brunch in my bucket for him, but he was pretty disappointed to find out that it was just rocks. This hole is pretty interesting. It looks like there's actually two little holes right next to each other. One where they kicked all the dirt out, and then this one just popped straight up out of the ground. This one is definitely larger than most of the ground squirrel holes that come up, so I'm not sure if it's a different animal that made it or what, but I am definitely going to fill it in as fast as I can. All these tiny little emergency chores do add up as I go through my day and get me off track more often than not. It's been really satisfying to see how good Scarlet is doing out on the pasture. I can almost call her and she'll come to me wherever I am out here.
Girl.
I had a lot of questions on a recent video about how tall I think this girl is going to get, and I think she's probably going to finish at least 16 hands. I haven't measured her in a while, but I think right now she's around 15.2. When I bought her at a few months old, we figured that her birthday was somewhere around July 1st, so she will be turning 3 here pretty soon.
Come on.
As soon as I was done filling in the hole, Tiny had to come out and check on it.
Girl. You okay?
Unfortunately, I did have to take a trip to the emergency vet with Tiny the other day.
Come on.
Tiny is a very outspoken cat, so it's really easy to tell when she's in distress. She ended up having a UTI that we got some antibiotics for, and she is feeling a lot better today. These boys look like they are pretty unhappy with their grass hay, which you can see is strewn about the ground.
Boys. Stewie.
This stuff is pretty expensive, so it always hurts a little bit
Hey,
when
Peter.
they don't want to eat it.
Nigel. Hey, little buddy.
Nigel has really been enjoying Frisco Bill's company. It's a lot quieter out here with Prim in the round pen. I still have not turned anybody out onto these smaller pastures next to the barn.
Hey, Gus.
Gus was getting too sore being turned out overnight with the boys, so I think it was just too much sugar for his sensitive feet. I pulled him off the grass as soon as I noticed he was having discomfort, so I think a few more days on his dry lot with regular hay and I can start turning him out onto this tiny pasture periodically. He's one that'll get turned out for an hour or two in the morning, and that is all the grazing time that he's gonna have. Since Studman decided he is no longer welcome with him and Goose, I'll probably end up turning him out in the small arena during the evening. Since we did get quite a bit of rain and snow the last couple of days, the grass is really starting to grow again. I wasn't planning on having to mow any more this summer, but the grass around the edges has sprung up and I might as well get it cleaned up while the weather is nice.
Oh, he's back.
Right when I was finishing up mowing the edges of the driveway, I noticed that the little heron from this morning was back. There is a pretty decent sized stream that runs behind the barn and there's lots of trees back there, so I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's a pair of them and they have some chicks that they're trying to feed. Over the last couple of days, he has gotten a lot more used to me poking around here. I can't imagine that this bird would try and catch a gopher, but he's obviously doing something out in the pasture, so I decided to take a little break and see just exactly what he was up to this afternoon.
Hey, boys.
He was definitely after something, and the closer I got, the more sneaky he became. He hid for a while behind an old roll of wire until he felt it was safe to come out. I have never seen a heron hunting before, but he started to get this little wiggle in his neck and his body. It kind of looks like how a cat kind of winds up before they pounce on something. He continued to sneak around with this little wiggle for quite a while, and I tried to see if I could get a little bit closer. Goose and Studman were definitely not impressed.
Let's see if we can get closer.
After watching this dude snake around for quite a while, he finally stood as still could be, watching a gopher that had popped up. He stood as stiff as a board for quite a while. There is no way he could have slipped over there and snatched up that gopher, so I think his strategy is to wait until they run in front of him. Prim was a little bit confused as to what I was doing sitting down next to her round pen. After a stare down that lasted around 25 minutes, this little heron decided to take his business elsewhere. It was at this moment that I felt a shift in the air and he really got down to business. Come on, Tiny, come on. Due to all of my unauthorized breaks today, Tiny finally showed up right at the most inopportune time. I sat in my truck with Tiny and watched this bird not move a muscle for about another 20 minutes. Tiny was not really sure what exactly we were doing sitting in the truck when there was more work to be done. At this point, I'm still in a little bit of disbelief that one of these birds would actually be able to catch a gopher, but this guy has been trying his hardest for the last almost 2 hours. As you can see, this area along the fence does have quite a few of the little guys, and eventually he did get one. He disappeared under the tall grass for quite a while, and then I saw him pick his little head up with his prize. It was at this point in time that Tiny started getting very upset. While she abandoned her post to have a pretty lengthy snuggle session, she was flabbergasted to see that somebody else was hunting on her turf. I don't think it comes up on camera how big these birds actually are, and I think if this one set his mind to it, he could probably snatch up Tiny if he tried. But that didn't stop Tiny from going out to investigate who was feasting on her gophers. I think for a brief moment in time, Tiny thought about going out and snatching her gopher back. But after weighing the cost, she decided it just was not worth the hassle. It was really cool to see this guy fly away with his catch. He must have a nest over by the creek because that is exactly where he went. Tiny seemed like she was too stunned to speak, but there are plenty of gophers around here for her to take care of. I still get a lot of questions about why I don't just kill all the gophers, and I do think it's important to leave the food source for a lot of the really cool animals that live around here. And part of taking care of my tiny little slice of paradise is making sure they all have something to eat. After I'm done mowing, I'm going to give Frisco a bath and check on Big Gus. I don't know why, but for some reason, Nigel has been able to keep very clean.
Nigel. Hey, little buddy. Nigel.
I thought he was losing a little bit of weight last week, so I've been trying to feed him more hay. He basically just eats all of the alfalfa leaves and leaves the stems. Between Nigel and Frisco Bale, who basically just eats the leaves, there is a significant amount of hay waste. It does make a little bit of extra work for me when I have to clean it up, but it seems to be the best thing for these two little boys.
Come on, Zig.
Ziggy is pretty keen on when dinner arrives. He is typically right back in his dry lot. Even with a special little snack, Scarlet still needs supervision when she comes in.
Zig, you got a bite. Let me bit you, Zig.
I was a little bit unsure as to who bit Studman in the neck, but now I'm thinking that it probably was Ziggy. As I was feeding all of the horses their dinner, I did see the Heron swoop down and go for a hunt on the neighbor's property. I'm really hoping I continue to see more of this really cool bird.
What's wrong?
I can definitely tell a difference in Studman. He is acting more like a stud these days and gets pretty upset when I put his hay pile too close to Goose's. The only thing I have left to do this evening is to get the boys out on pasture.
Come here.
For the first couple of days, I could tell Pete was not too happy to have Big Gus gone again, but he slowly remembered that him and Stewie have become really good pals. As usual, Whiplash likes to have a few extra scratches before he goes out to the pasture for the evening. He is another one on my list that I am really excited to test out the Liberty training on. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.